Is there any way you can take your retro gaming experience to the next level?
My name's David. I do computer repair work, video game repairs, mods, stuff like that is more of a hobby, but definitely a passion. With older consoles, you want to be able to play them on modern TVs. If you tried to plug a Super Nintendo into a regular TV like this, it's going to look absolutely atrocious, or it's not going to display at all. So with that, you want to do maybe an HDMI mod. Now that involves adding a separate board to the system to bypass its existing audio video components, stuff like that, to output it to an HD TV.
The joy of playing video games were so much for David and his family that when they couldn't afford new games, they decided to work with what they got.
I was too poor to afford Final Fantasy IX for my 9th or 10th birthday. And so my brother came up with this brilliant idea to put a spring in the original PlayStation 1, so when you're closing the lid, it wouldn't register it. And so you could swap out games. And so then he got me a copied version of Final Fantasy IX, a ROM disc of the game. So I was able to play the game, even though I was too poor to afford it, which was awesome.
I found a company that sold mod chips online, and I think it was $12 that I ordered this thing for. I soldered the mod chip into the PlayStation, and from there, I was able to take my games and make copies of them, and it would play copies flawlessly without anything else at it. To this day, that system still works. The PlayStation 2, if you bought the Final Fantasy Online version of it, came with a network adapter and a hard drive actually connected to that network adapter. We can load games off of a hard drive. What is stopping us from loading other games off of that hard drive? Someone had figured out a way to take the boot sector of that Final Fantasy game and then apply it across the board, so that you could have a library of games on that hard drive, and they would always use that boot sector to load them all up. So you'd fire up the system, and then on screen you just have an alphabetical list of all these PlayStation 2 games on there. You could customize the menu to look however you wanted. It was great having an entire library like that without having to change out discs, worry about scratching them, where are they, storage space.
But what happens when your mods require more power than the console can handle? David found a clever solution by turning to an even older piece of gaming hardware.
With the original consoles, you're also working with and against the limitations of the original hardware. Whereas something like this, you're able to be more creative with it. You're starting from scratch. You can modify it however you want. This, anyway, is all run through a Windows computer, so you're only limited by the hardware that you put in. And if it doesn't work for you, you can always upgrade it, add more things to it. So there's a ton of options for being able to customize it however you want. For my purposes, the computer as is that I built in there works just fine. And it's nothing really high-end. But it will play up to PlayStation 2, GameCube, Nintendo Wii. That's about where its compatibility for consoles stops, though. Anything beyond that, chronologically speaking, it's not going to play well. It's going to be choppy, stuttery, and in some cases not work at all.
There are many benefits to modifying a console. One of them is affordability.
At the end of the day, a lot of these old Super Nintendo games, the more popular ones are starting to get up there in price. You're talking $300 all the way up to $3,000 and more. So your average person isn't going to spend that much money. Weighing out the options, can I buy a $100 console and modify it to play all these things, or do I shell out thousands upon thousands of dollars over a 10-year period?
If you're going to modify something, purchase it. Give credit to the developers, give them the financial needs, because without them there are no video games, right? So always support the official release.
If you ever want to try modding for yourself, the barrier for entry is shockingly low.
There are so many communities out there online, either through forums or there's even Facebook groups. Those have gotten really big with this stuff. If you've got a little bit of technical aptitude, or even just the ability to follow technical instructions, there's no reason why you couldn't figure out how to do something like this yourself. There's a lot of help out there. People will answer questions for you, even help you modify files, so on and so forth. So I definitely recommend it.
It's making all these people who are just really modifying, playing with something that's pre-existing, but it's giving them the tools to become game developers themselves. Modifying games is the entryway to what these big companies need for employees.